Our rescue mission unfolds at 12,800 feet in the mountains of Utah. A stranded climber with a broken ankle and a loyal dog that turns defensive when help finally arrives. Welcome to the Real ResQ Podcast, part of the Vertical Magazine's Helicast family. Alongside the Hangar Z Podcast, the Helicopter Podcast, Valor Flight Crew, and Vertical MRO Podcast. Discover every one of the shows at verticalhelicast.com. Today's episode is brought to you by the unwavering support of Airbus, pioneering sustainable aerospace for a safe and united world. Check them out at airbus.com. Axnest, their mission, wireless ICS. Get in touch with them at axnest.com. Metro Aviation, lifting humanity to the most uncompromising yet sustainable standard of safe transport, period. Check them out at metroaviation.com. And Precision Aviation Group. Their precision is the key to your performance. Check them out at precisionaviationgroup.com. And remember, if you want to help support this podcast, get your gear at therealresqstore.com. Now let's get into our episode with a man who grew up riding horses, his son who is a professional bull rider, and someone who loves anything that gets him outdoors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Luke Bowman. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Today, our guest comes to us from Utah in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Luke Bowman, Chief Pilot of Utah DPS. What's up, Luke?
Oh, not much. How's it going, Jason?
Dude, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I'm excited to have you on today because you and I have been back and forth a little bit. We've talked multiple times about multiple rescues, and I'm excited to get him on recording right now. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm glad we finally got it worked out.
Yeah, man. The last time I talked to you, guys were like in some sort of training. I think ARS was out, and you guys were bouncing around the pattern, doing all their stuff.
Yeah, it's been good. We've been doing a lot of training lately.
So. Oh yeah, what are you training right now?
We just had a couple of retirements and promotions and things. So left a couple of holes on the team, so we've had to work to get some new hoist operators, rescue specialists, things like that trained up. So we got a pilot starting later this week. So we just got all sorts of things moving and shaking.
Ooh, man, people retiring, people moving up. Congratulations to all of them. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I guess congratulations on retirement, but
yeah, someday you and I will be there.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool, dude. Now you've run multiple positions, right? Like you're not just a pilot. Yeah, just
right.
A pilot.
So from the beginning, so I trained up as a hoist operator and rescue specialist as well. So on any of the missions, I could go in any one of those roles.
Wow, that's cool. You're a trifecta. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have medical training too?
I don't actually. So.
Oh man, I was gonna go for the quad, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, that's all right. Are any of your guys qualified medically?
We do not have any EMTs. We just have, because all of our guys are former troopers, use Highway Patrol troopers that we just bring onto the team. And so They all get like basic combat type, first aid, TCCC stuff, but nobody has their EMT or anything like that.
Sometimes it's not needed. You just go in, grab them, get them out, bring them in.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole model of what we do, right? Just stabilize and extract. So we go in, do what we can to stabilize, and then extract them, get them to a higher level of care.
Right on, man. And if I remember correctly, you guys are flying the 125?
Yep, H-125.
Nice. Dude, that's awesome. And like, all right, so you guys, as a hoist operator and RS and whatnot, do you fly with a crew of 3, or is it just you, pilot up front and then crew chief, or what do you
Yeah,
call them?
we do a crew of 3. So pilot, hoister operator, rescue specialist. Both the rescue specialist and hoist operator are trained up in the camera. So if it's a law enforcement mission, they just kind of flip flop who does the camera, things like that. But not all the rescue specialists are hoist operators. So
Right
kind
on.
of kind of a progression, right? Be rescue specialist
Yeah.
first, and then go up to hoist operators.
Yeah, I really like that too. I know not all agencies get to do that or can do that, but I'm pretty pumped the fact that I was a rescue swimmer, rescue specialist first, and then got into hoist operations because
Yeah.
I knew everything that I like what I wanted on the hook. So I think it made me a better and I have a better understanding of what guys are looking for on the hook as a hoist operator.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. Same thing and on the pilot training to be a hoist operator
Oh
because
yeah.
you already know communications, what you want to hear. You get a really good understanding for what's happening below you. In the H-125, especially, you don't see what's going on below you when the hoist operator is working, right? Because it's on the other side of the aircraft. But
Yeah.
the pilot that can kind of see that picture from the hoist operator side, I think makes us a better pilot, and then also makes me a better hoist operator, knowing what the pilots want and what they're used to. So.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's cool. I really like the fact that you guys do that. And I would recommend any pilot out there that does hoist operations get on the hook. Be a victim
Absolutely.
at least once in your career,
Yep.
just so you know exactly how it feels.
Yeah, we utilize our pilots all the time for victims when we're doing training. They're the easiest ones to grab because you can only have one pilot flying, so you have a couple of them sitting around, and we grab them and throw them in the vest and let them ride the hook. So,
Yeah. Oh God, that's cool. If I were to come out, can I be a victim?
absolutely.
Yes, I'm in. All right, sign me up. I'm on my way.
All right.
Dude, that's cool. The program that you guys have out there with Utah DPS, so you're officers of the law first, search and
Right.
rescue. What else? What else is there that you guys do?
So that's mostly what we do. We do some flights with other state agencies, like if the radio guys need to get up to the tower for repairs or something in the winter when they can't get up there, it's iced over or whatever. We'll fly them up to the top of the peak and let them do their radio repairs. We used
Nice.
to fly a whole bunch for the Division of Wildlife, doing animal counts, elk, bighorn sheep, mountain goats, all that stuff. But we're just so busy now that we don't really have time for those flights. They usually want a helicopter dedicated for a week, and we just can't do that. We're doing three
Got
or
it.
four flights a day that would take us away from that animal count too much to make that worth it anymore. So
Got
really,
it.
primarily just law enforcement and search and rescue.
Right on, man. That's cool. I like that. I like that. Well, all right, Luke, how did you get into it? Like, what's a little of your background? Where are you from, and what brought you to being a DPS officer?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town up in Idaho. We grew up with horses and stuff, just kind of living the farm life. My dad was on volunteer search and rescue my whole life, and always took the horses out to help look for people and did things like that. So I would help out a little bit there. I would volunteer for their training, be kind of a victim. I'd go hide up in the mountains, and then they'd come and try to find me, that kind of stuff. And then when I was about 8 years old, my uncle actually came to do a check ride for a fixed wing. And
Yeah.
I went out, and as soon as he passed his check ride, he took me for a flight, and I was hooked from there. So that's all I wanted to do
Oh
was be a pilot growing
yeah.
up. And so when I was in high school, I decided, man, helicopters are just way cooler than airplanes, and maybe I could get into the search and rescue aspect. So that's kind of where their passion or the desire started, I guess. And then, interestingly enough, when my wife went into labor with our first child, she got flown to a different hospital, And so
No
while the nurse and the
way.
paramedic were in there getting her ready for the flight, I was out in the hall talking to the pilot, saying, "Hey, this is, I want to do this. What should I do?" And so he kind of gave me some direction. And my first goal, like I thought my goal and my passion was to fly life flight, fly EMS, but it actually turned out I came back and I worked for that same guy that had gave me the direction, and I was there for a couple of years, and then this job with the state just kind of came available, and had a guy that was working part-time for the state that I was working full-time with, and he's like, "Yeah, you should totally do it." Well, after I said I was going to do it, he's like, "Yeah, that's the best job ever." But he wouldn't tell me that I should come before I left. It wasn't until I agreed to it. But so that's kind of how I got into this job. And then they actually sent me through the police academy. So at that time, I hadn't really thought I'll be a police officer. It was just kind of happenstance, I guess. So,
dude, I love the fact that your wife was getting prepped to go on the flight to the hospital, and you're talking to the pilot about bettering the career.
Yeah.
Does she know this, or is she gonna learn this?
No, she knows it. I was actually looking into going into the military and working on applying for the warrant officer program and stuff. And so she knew that I was interested in it. That's what I was going to do. We just didn't know exactly how yet. And I actually almost signed the line to go to the military. And then that happened. She got flown. And so the pilot that I talked to was like, if you got a wife and kids, like maybe you should think about just going to civilian flight school instead. And so he gave me some advice that helped me stick around, I guess. Not saying the military is a bad option. Like looking back at it now, I'm like, I maybe should have done that. Like that would have been wouldn't have had to pay so much money, right? But
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, it worked out all right. So.
I just think it's funny that your wife is getting all prepped to go on a flight, and the paramedics all like, "Oh, yep," and you're like, "Honey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go talk to him."
Yeah. It was a small room anyway. They were like kicking me out, so I was in the way, so I took care of business.
Oh man, that's hilarious! I love it, dude. Well, all right, so you get through everything, all your training and all your flight school. You land in the department. You get through all of your training in your department, and now you're standing duty, search and rescue. Do you remember your very first rescue?
Yeah, I think it's the first one. I'm not sure 100%. It might be first or second, but got a call to go down to No Man's Canyon. It's down in Hanksville. It's close to, like, if anybody's seen the 127 Hours, like Blue John Canyon. It's kind of that type of environment.
Yeah. That's the one that the dude got his hand stuck in the rock in the boulder.
Yeah, and then he
cut it off. Yeah,
that was one of the guys that rescued him. But
no way.
That's the guy I got hired to replace. Was the guy that rescued him that cut his own arm off. So.
Oh, what a trip!
Yeah, so
I do remember seeing that movie. That was pretty gnarly. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
It's a crazy movie. So actually, our pilot and our helicopter's in the movie. If you remember that helicopter scene, that was our helicopter. So anyway.
Oh right. Oh, that's badass. Now I got to go watch it again. Okay.
Yeah. So we get this call to go down and find these guys that had been missing for a while. It was kind of. They did all the right things, right? So they went on this hike, and they were going on hikes, and they were leaving like a journal in their truck, and they had very specific instructions to their spouses. Like, if you don't hear from us by Friday at 2:00, then you need to call for search and rescue. And so they had departed their vehicles on Sunday and left, and then nobody heard from them until Friday. So Friday at 2:00, the spouses call and say, "Hey, we haven't heard from these guys. We think they're lost. This is where they're supposed to be." And so we show up, and the deputies break into their truck and start searching through. Found this little journal that says, "Hey, this is exactly our plan." And they had everything spelled out with a map and all that stuff. And so we start searching for them on Friday night, and nobody can find them. We don't find them anywhere. And so we go over to Moab, grab a hotel, get a couple hours of sleep, and then come back Saturday morning And we're in the process of just kind of shuttling some of the search and rescue guys to different parts of the different canyons, things like that. And I noticed a couple pairs of footprints in the sand going into this canyon that was different than the canyon we thought they were supposed to be in. And I see them, and it goes into a really narrow slot canyon. And I was like, "Hey, has anybody walked over here? Because I can see these footprints." And they're like, "No, nobody's been out there." And so I said, "Okay, let's put a pause on shuttling crews, and I'm going to check out these footprints." And so we're going and just kind of slowly hovering over the slot canyon, trying to see down in it, see if we can see anybody. And then it kind of opened up into a lot wider canyon with a big waterfall type area. And I kind of hover and do a pedal turn, and I look back, and right then I notice a little bit of movement, like clear deep inside this cave that would have been the end of the slot canyon.
Okay.
And I notice a movement in there, and I said, "I think I've got him." And I look in there, and just then my tactical flight officer said, "I have somebody down low." And so what had happened is these two brothers, David and Luis, were out hiking. They had gone through this slot canyon, and then at the end it opens up into like a big cave where you have to do 100-foot rappel down. And Sunday,
awesome.
the day that they left, they went down into the slot canyon and rappelled down. You have to rappel down like 50 feet into the slot canyon, so there's no way to just come out of it unless you have climbing gear. But the one brother took off and rappelled down. Something happened. I don't know the rigging or what, but all of a sudden, David, the one that was in the cave, said he heard his brother scream, and then the rope just pulled up through the system and went down with his brother. So the brother fell, and he was actually unfortunately killed, but left his brother David in this cave for the unforeseeable future. So he was there from Sunday till Saturday when we found him. And he had lived off of a half of a sandwich and one Nalgene bottle, about a quarter full of iced tea. And that's what he had lived on until Saturday. So I see this motion in the cave. We go down. This was with our older B-2 aircraft long before we got our hoist. Like I said, back when I first started in 2010. And so this was a long time ago. And so I kind of skid load my TFO to the area right above the slot canyon where he could yell down. Skid load him in. I get out of the way so they can yell. And he yells down and confirms that it's David, one of the guys that we've been looking for. And so then I went and I did about 40 skid loads, hauling in search and rescue guys and ropes and everything like that into this area. And they raised him up, and he was just, thin and weak and everything. And so it's about an hour and a half on a dirt road for the ambulance to get out to us. And, it would have been time, quite a while for EMS helicopter to get there. So they just said, "Hey, is there anything, can you guys take him?" So we loaded him in the helicopter with the paramedic and took him to the Moab hospital about 45 minutes away. And so he's a pretty funny guy. Like we mentioned the Aaron Ralston, Blue John Canyon story. He's like, "Hey, I just want everybody to know that I out Ralston to Ralston. I was here longer than he was." So,
wow,
cool,
way to make good light of it.
But yeah, he had taken apart his backpack and made a sign with the webbing that said "help." And I didn't see this. I didn't see the actual sign. I just saw kind of the reflective and the movement. But he stuck it out the cave as far as he could, and wiggled it around when he heard us. So pretty incredible story. Heck
yeah. Now, unfortunately, the brother passed away. Did you ever? So he fell. Did they know what happened?
Yeah, so he had fallen. Something happened. They were trying to rappel off of a double rope that was looped up through the rigging at the top, and then rappel down so that they could pull the rope. And something happened. It didn't get rigged right or something, and so he got down to a point where one end pulled through the rope, and then he was still hooked to part of it, and so it just pulled the whole rope through the system. and then he fell
Oh
and was
man.
killed. So.
Oh, it's terrible. What a save though. My goodness.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild. That was, like I said, one of the very first ones. So I was like, wow, this job is going to be awesome. But
Holy shit, dude. Well done. Like, way to look at like something out of the ordinary too. Like when you're looking at like footprints that go into a different area. Like, hey,
yeah,
something stands out. Let's check over here.
yeah,
Wow.
it's actually one of the counties here in Utah, King County down south. They put on a class every year it's their man tracking class, and so it's
Awesome.
like a week long course, and they teach people how to track, and so I had been to that a couple of times because we always go and support with the helicopter on their last scenario day, and so I'd been to the course a couple of times, and so I could tell, like which direction they were going. I'm like, somebody definitely went into this canyon, and then anyway, so it was kind of fresh off that class, and it all just kind of stuck. It was pretty cool.
So now you're officially the second guy that's come on here to talk about tracking, like old school tracking like that. And the first guy, Jeff Love, out of Pinell County, like he was talking about it. I'm like, oh man, I thought it was like a lost art. Oh no, it's taught, and you guys are using it. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I gotta get the information on this class. I would love to do that. I'd love to learn more about that. That is incredible.
Yeah, it's a really good course.
Damn, man. Do great save. Great job, man. Great job. You and your whole crew.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I still stay in touch with that guy, with David. He puts on quite a few courses and classes where he tells about his story, and I've listened in on a couple of his live lectures where he's talked about the experience, and he's been a really good guy. He was actually a professor in Tennessee somewhere, so he's very well spoken and good writer and stuff. So he's written about it. It's a pretty cool deal. He goes back every year or so and kind of does a memorial hike for his brother, and it's pretty cool. So
that is cool. Wow, man. Hey, thanks for sharing that one. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Luke, one of the cool things I know, like throughout their conversation, again, thank you for sharing your very first rescue that you remember with us. That's awesome. We have a lot more of like first time of this or highest of that, worst of this. We're going to highlight like all the ones that stand out to you. So we're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Axnis. The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft. As a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station, the PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
And
Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140-plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
Right. Yeah.
You get to be an RS, and you have your very first cliff rescue.
Yeah, so the cool thing is with our department, we train every month. And so we try to dream up scenarios, and we go and we plan for, some things. So we had done a lot of training on cliff rescues, but this was very early on, kind of our second year of hoisting. So we were still kind of in that crawl, walk stage, not really going too extreme. We turned down a lot of flights at that time. But we got this call for a guy that was climbing, and he had fallen. He was lead climbing with kind of just some friends, they call them, where they put him into the rock. And
trad. Yeah, trad climbing.
Yeah. And so he was lead climbing, and he had his wife and a buddy out there with him, and they're up on like the second pitch of this climb. And so his wife and his buddy are at this rappel station, and this guy started up above them, and he went up 2 or 3 and then fell. And unfortunately, every anchor that he had placed came out. And so he fell about
man.
60 feet because he was, originally 30 feet above them. Those anchors come out. So the only thing that caught him was at the actual belay station. And so now this lady sees her husband fall down past them and then hits his head and is hanging upside down about 30 feet below them and on the only rope that they have. And so there's not really, they're kind of stuck, don't really know what to do. And so we go in and we're looking at it and talking about it. And we decide like, yeah, we can do this. We'll stay on the hook. We'll go down. We'll get to him. And so we landed and started configuring, kind of getting our gear in order to go up there. And at that time, some other climbers had worked their way over to this victim, the guy that fell, and at least got him up horizontal so that he wasn't hanging upside down anymore. And so they tied him up horizontal, and then we come in and I go down and I worked him into our air rescue vest that we used, and I worked him into that. And then he was still attached to all the ropes. So I pulled out my Benchmade knife that we had on our vest and, carefully cut the ropes that was tying him on after he was connected to me into the helicopter, and cut those ropes. And then he fell against my chest, because he wasn't suspended by the ropes anymore. And so then I couldn't put my knife away. And so I was kind of looking and I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to like stab him as I tried to put the knife away. And so I looked around and I handed it to the climber that had helped him, get horizontal. And I was, I said something dumb like, "Here you go, happy birthday," and gave him the thing. And you kind of see him in the video just like shrug, like, "Okay." Like,
all right, thank you.
So yeah, then we took that guy down and got him to a life flight helicopter, and they took him to the hospital. So.
Wow. When they had him tied off, I got a couple of questions about this. All right, so you guys get him into you get him into the ARV on the side of the cliff. Now I get it, like he's roped in, he's got one connection to his harness, probably another connection up top to keep him upright, right?
Yep.
And now you go in, you get him in this, you connect him to you on the hoist hook. So you're like, you're still hanging from the helicopter. And then it's like, okay, cut line 1, check.
Right.
Cut line 2, check. And I imagine he probably had maybe 2 or 3 lines attached to him to keep him
there were
on the
3
rock, right?
total holding him up.
Okay.
And so I had to, with the helicopter hovering above me, I had to try to yell up to his friend and his wife, like, "Okay, which rope are you connected to make sure I didn't cut anything that would have jeopardized their safety."
Yeah.
And so we had to try to verify which rope it was. I took a couple of minutes to verify and make sure, like, okay, which exactly rope, are we doing here?
Jeez.
And then I cut their rope and they couldn't go anywhere. Like they're hooked to the belay station, but now their rope's cut. And so they had to wait for the ground search and rescue guys to climb up to them and help them down.
Oh my God.
So this poor lady is sitting there, watches her husband fly away, and then she has to just wait, and so she didn't get down for another couple hours.
Oh, wow. The only other thing that I think about with that is, I have no doubt that you guys think about it all the time with a scenario like that, is when you put them in the ARV and now you've connected him to you and he's still connected to the rock. Like everybody's connected to the rock. The helicopter is not going anywhere until you cut those ropes. It's like that. And I've been there, like as far as training goes, I've never done it like live, real person, but I've been there long enough where I'm sitting on the side of the rope connected to the victim, to the helicopter. And I'm like, if anything goes wrong right now, we're not coming off this rock. It's not happening. And it's a weird feeling for those that have never done it. You're like, woo, okay, all right, let's do this. Let's do this right. And
there's a lot going through your head at that time, like I got to make sure I cut the right ropes. I got to get away from the rock because everybody's tied to the rock right now. So we've streamlined the process and gotten a lot better at it now. We've done quite a few hanging cliff picks, but that first one was a little bit difficult.
Buddy, that is awesome. Well done. Man, I'm also thinking about like the hoist operator too, because if you're on a vertical face as a hoist operator, the helicopter's going up and down just a little bit. So he's like bringing you in, sending you out, bringing you in, sending you out, and you're trying to work all the hands. Oh my God, I get it. I can totally see it, all of it.
Yeah. So that one, not to be an advertisement, but that one right there was like, we need to do something better with comms, right? Because it was weird shadows that day, and he's trying to rely on my head signals. We had our regular handheld radios from the patrol hooked to a little push to talk, that it could go through my mic, but they couldn't hear me on that because of the rotor noise. So they're trying to rely on my head signals. And anyway, it was just very difficult without good comms. And so that was what kind of sparked we got to get Axness, we got to get something that will work for these rescues. Cause sometimes your hands are busy. You got a lot going on. Like that communication is critical.
Oh, heck yeah. Great plug. Nice job.
Yeah.
I know you didn't mean to plug them specifically, but I am all about wireless comms. I love that system. I think it's amazing. And as a guy on the hook, and all of a sudden you can have a conversation with the guy in the air. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, on ICS, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I like the fact you guys have that.
You don't have to do anything to talk. It's just you just talk. Like because that was the major downfall, is like trying to push that button to talk while I'm trying to do everything else.
Bro, man, well done. I knew this conversation was going to be a good one. I knew it. All right, so the other thing that you guys do, which I find extremely interesting, is and we just talked about 2 relatively good finds, and everything worked out, but you guys get multi-day with multiple agencies that you end up searching out for, and not everything ends up well. Sometimes you'll get recovery stuff. Walk us through just a little bit of that, what you see.
Yeah, so Utah is a very, very diverse area, right? We have diverse terrain. So sometimes you're up in the high Uintas, which is an area that's just very remote, rugged wilderness. And sometimes you're in slot canyons. Sometimes you're in the desert. There's just very different types of terrain here. And it's hard to explain to people that don't have the picture of how massive it can be, right? Like you get a call to go up into the Uintas, and they're like, well, we saw him 3 days ago at this location, and now your search area is just huge with lakes and cliffs and trees and just terrain that you wouldn't believe. And you have to, you're searching, and so sometimes it'll take days to find those people. And obviously with every passing hour or day, the likelihood of finding them alive is a lot less, right? And so sometimes we'll spend multiple days and then find them, and it turns into a recovery. Unfortunately, you're not sure, well, if we would have found him quicker, would this guy still be alive, or did they die quick that the same day they went missing, kind of thing. But we do quite a bit of the body recoveries. Not every search and rescue turns out in a good with a good outcome, unfortunately.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, my own question to that side of it, and I imagine you guys do, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you guys have a good program for that, stuff like that? Just like a debrief?
Yeah, we really do. The Highway Patrol itself has come up with a wellness program. They hire a civilian, they call it a wellness coordinator, that is really taking charge and doing a good job, making sure, not just our job, but troopers on the road and things. Everybody's taking care of themselves, and they kind of push every aspect, financial, mental health, physical health. They do everything they can to make you, or to help you be, operate as good as you can. And then they also have a therapist or a psychiatrist. I don't know what exactly the title is, but a guy that you can go and talk to that's free anytime. So anything that happens, you can go talk to them, And then they also require a yearly checkup with that therapist.
Interesting.
And so we go in, you have a yearly check with them, make sure you're doing good. They have you do like a 400 question test to make sure, like, judge all your PTSD and your trauma levels and stuff like that. I don't know how it all works. I'm not into that game. But,
it's all good.
yeah, they do an amazing job, and I really would have to applaud the Highway Patrol for pushing that the last couple of years, because before that we didn't have a process, and we would kind of talk about it and check up with our mates, but there wasn't really anything actually in place. And now it's like, some of my team can be going to see this therapist regularly, and I have no idea, but at least they're getting the help they need. So anytime there's a traumatic event, then myself and the two sergeants are always following up with the team, make sure that they're doing good, making sure they know what resources are available. And so, it becomes a really close-knit group of people. And so it's a really tight team. And, we can recognize like when somebody's personality is a little bit different than it has been in the past. And so,
yeah, agreed.
I think we have a really good thing going with that.
Man, that's awesome. That's really good to hear is what that is. Cause I think the majority of programs and agencies have it now. It's just, again, it's a nice little fallback to hear like, oh, hey, we've got people's back. We understand that you guys actually see some crazy stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's really good.
And this is what's going to bring us into yet another one of like the wows. And that's your hardest case you've ever responded to, your hardest rescue.
All right. So this one isn't the hardest because of the technical, how technical it was, but just the hardest situation I've ever had to deal with. I had heard about a plane crash down kind of in central Utah, close to a town called Fillmore, if anybody wants to look it up. But I'd heard about this plane crash, and the National Guard was already out on a training exercise close. And so they immediately got the call like, hey, you guys are right here. You're training with this neighboring county. Can you look for this plane crash? And they were unsuccessful. And the first time that we got the request was about a week later.
Oh, damn. That's a long time.
Yeah, the request was actually from our dive team to go help them because they had been requested to search a lake for the remains of this plane crash. And so they asked us like, hey, could you help us with gear and maybe fly around the lake and look if there's any debris or anything like that that's broke off of this plane, something that might tell us that the plane's in the lake. And so I said, yeah, we can, but I think we could also do more to help. And so I called the sheriff, and kind of to back up, in Utah, search and rescue is the responsibility of the sheriff. And so we're just there to assist. And so not very often do I call and self-dispatch and say, hey, I think we can help here. But this time I called the sheriff.
Now, are you talking the sheriff as far as the sheriff of DPS or the sheriff
of each individual
county?
Each individual county is in charge.
Oh, okay.
And so DPS just goes and helps that particular county with their search.
Nice.
And so yeah, like they might have 10 searches and then just call us on one. We don't help on every search in the state. So I called the sheriff and I said, hey, do you mind if we just come and look and get involved in this search? And so, of course, he was like, oh, yeah, I'd love it if you came. And so we start looking between the airport and the lake that they wanted to search because we thought that was his flight path. And then as more and more information came, his brother said, no, he always goes from this airport to this airport, which was a different direction, which was more east than north. And so that kind of gave us a search area. And so at that same time, we went and got fuel. And I just kind of started thinking like, okay, we know that it was a Piper airplane their climb out speed is probably going to be about this. They just got fuel, so they're pretty heavily loaded. We know there's 3 people on board. They were in California for a week for Thanksgiving, so they probably have some luggage. The airplane's probably pretty heavy, so I doubt they get more than 500 foot per minute climb at 60 to 80 knots. So I just kind of take off from the airport and fly that profile and start climbing up. And then I was like, okay, now direct to that new airport, to the east. Well, there's a big mountain range there. And so I just keep climbing at that profile and just start climbing up. And then I get to about 200 yards shy of the ridge. And I said, okay, they could be in this area because this could have been all the climb that they had. And about 2 minutes later, my TFO at the time is like, right there's some broken trees. And so then we saw the broken trees and then got in a little bit closer and saw the airplane there. Again, this was back before our hoisting days. And so I found a place to land up on the ridge, and we hiked down to it and found the wreckage. Pretty burnt. And that's one thing that's hard to explain to people, how an airplane looks, right? We've done a lot of plane crashes, and they don't look like airplanes. In your mind, you're kind of thinking, okay, I know what an airplane looks like. That's what I'm looking for. But it's a very different scene when you actually find a plane crash. It's not, I think it's hard. It makes it more difficult because your brain doesn't register what you're looking for. And so sometimes you just have to look for things out of the ordinary, like the broken trees or a flash of color that's something different. You gotta almost convince yourself not to look for the shape of an airplane, because it's not gonna, it's probably not going to be that shape.
No, it could be a wheel, landing gear. It could be a propeller. It could be a piece of the wing, something. Because everything else is just it's rubbish.
Yeah, just mangled up, and if it burns, then it's all blends into the surroundings. And anyway, so we get down to it, and it had burned pretty good. And the mom and the little girl that was probably 10 had gotten out of the airplane after the crash. The pilot, the dad, did not survive the crash. But they got out, and the mom was laying next to a log, and then the little girl was kind of cuddled up right next to her mom. But you could see she had one shoe on and one shoe off, and you could see her little footprints walking around in the snow, trying to collect, firewood or anything to start a fire, to stay warm. And obviously, didn't know how to start a fire. They were larger logs, but you could see where she had survived for a time from the plane crash, but being there by herself, wasn't able to survive the night. It was, middle of winter and cold. So. Damn,
man, I'm sorry. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's one that still, every time I drive by and see that mountain, I look up at it and just kind of remember that day. Very, very somber day. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Those are tough ones.
You bet.
Damn, man. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to see that. But I'm glad you know what? I am glad, though. I'm glad you found it. I'm glad you found it to put closure to the family and give everybody this is what happened. Right. And as crazy as it sounds, that's so important to so many.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I've learned through my career. That was in the first 3 or 4 years of my career, and I've been here for 15 years now. And we've done a lot of body recoveries, and I actually get a lot of satisfaction from being able to bring closure to the family. It kind of seems, a lot of times they know that something's wrong, like it's been too many days or no contact, especially with technology these days. Like, it's so easy to send a message on your iPhone, even if you don't have service, right? Like, you can send a message, and once you get that no contact for a couple of days, most people have it in their mind that, okay, they're out there, they're not alive, but you can't get past that. There has been a couple that we've never found, like up in the Uintas that I was talking about earlier. So vast, there's people that have never been found. And so to be able to bring that closure to the family and know that, okay, now I know everything that happened, I can heal and try to move forward. The never knowing, I think, would be really hard.
Agreed. Yeah, it's left a mystery for so long, and then you make up what you think happened. Oh, this is what we think. Well, this is what we think, and yeah, I get it. Right on, man. All right. Well, let's come into a different one then, and we'll close that one out. Thank you again for sharing that. It's pretty gnarly, dude. So, you have the highest rescue that you guys have ever done at 12,800 feet. Are you kidding me?
So yeah, this one was pretty awesome. I was the pilot on this one, and we go up there. Again, with technology and everything, we didn't have any search element to it. It was just fly to the spot, perform the rescue. But we went up there, and there was a medical helicopter that had landed in a saddle quite a bit lower and was working on hiking up to them. And they had been called out well before us. So they had been hiking for about an hour and a half. And we were able to come in, and we found the lady. She was there. She was climbing by herself, just her and her dog. And there's just up in the high Uintas, when you get up that high, there's not a lot of trees or anything like that. It's just huge boulders. And so as she's kind of working her way around these boulders, she slips and snaps her ankle. And so her bones are exposed, and she's sitting there, and her dog's there, and she has no idea, how she's going to get off of this mountain. So luckily she had a way to call for help because there's no phone service out there. And we go out there, we see her, and I'm just like, I don't know if we can do this. And we get in, and luckily she was close enough to the top, and there was about 20 or 30 knots of wind coming up over the ridge. And I just snuck in there and just kind of above the demarcation line, and was able to get the benefit of that headwind enough to where we could get our rescue specialist down there. And so we insert the rescue specialist. Power's looking great. I'm not even in the yellow, like close to limits, because I'm just sitting there in this headwind. And so I was able to just pull up. We put the rescue specialist in. He has his own deal. The dog tries to attack him, and the dog's not happy.
Oh my God, what the heck?
And so he has to actually take and tape the dog's mouth shut, and puts the dog. We fly with that little canine harness as well that we can rescue, because a lot of guys hike with their dogs, right? And so we put him in the canine harness, and he gets her ready to go, and then we come back and we get her, and then we come back for the rescue specialist and the dog. And then at this time, I was a little bit lackadaisical, I guess would be the right term, because I had done it already a couple of times. And so I go in, and this time I was just a little bit lower, and I went to pick him up, and we ran out of power.
Oh, geez,
so
man.
we get the power, and he was already kind of, off the ground. We didn't want to just pile him back into the rocks, but I had about 3,000 feet of just open air to my right. And so I just dropped the power and just took off to the right, and just kind of brought him along, and then got down to where we could get our power back in, and then we brought him up. So a little bit of a swing. Definitely a lesson learned for me on that, right? Like, don't ever take for granted, like, I've been into this spot, 3 times already. It's not a big deal. And, just kind of like, okay, we're at the end. We're just picking up our rescue specialist. Like, in my mind, I didn't think it was important enough, I guess, to really make sure my power was set and everything was good. I just kind of went in, maybe rushed it a little bit more than I should have. And then we ran into that. And that was, that's the only time I've ever run out of power on a hoist. But the dumb thing was that, like, if I would have been 20 feet higher, I could have done it all day long. And so that was a good one for me to not take anything for granted, like make sure you have a plan, make sure you know your power, make sure you know everything. So.
Man alive, dude, what? All at 12,800 feet. That is crazy.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. Cool. I love how you've got great power with a 30 knot headwind at 12,800 feet. That is insane to me.
Pretty amazing.
Like I hear guys talking about
that H-125, is very suitable for what we do in the terrain we work in. Small footprint, plenty of power. Like it's a good aircraft.
I've seen it out here in the desert quite a bit, where it gets up to 110, 115 degrees. That thing will still fly at 8,000-9,000 feet without.
Yeah.
Well, it's got a little bit of trouble with that temperatures, but like it's interesting because a lot of the guys will talk about getting in that aircraft and they get the updrafts and they drop the collective all the way down and it's still climbing, or the other way, you pull it all the way and there's nothing left and you're still descending. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it does.
Overall, props to Airbus for that aircraft.
Really well. So
Yep. Dude, what the heck?
Yeah.
Well done. Dang. I'm picturing like you dropping off the side, like 3,000 feet of open air to our left, to your right. You take off to your right, and the rescue specialist hanging on. He's like, "What the?"
Yeah.
And again, her reaction, because she's on the hook too. Like, where are we going? Oh my lord!
Well, we had already taken her back over to that medical helicopter that was down.
Okay, so it's just it was
just the rescue specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, too high to get both of them at the same time.
Yeah. Oh man, I'll tell you, like, it happened me on the hook, I would have been like, "Let's go!"
Yeah. Well, and we that's another thing that we train for is like, hey, if we're close on power, this is what we're going to have to do. And so we had trained for it, but I had never got myself into that situation before. And we talk about our emergency plan as we go into every hoist, and so we knew exactly what the plan was. Like, hey, if anything goes wrong, we're bailing off to the right. And so it was already ingrained. And so when it happened, it was just like, okay, here we go. It wasn't no decisions had to be made like right then. It was just we already knew what we were going to do. But we've talked about that on every hoist, and how many hundreds of times have I talked through that plan and never had to use it, and then that one time, here it is. So yeah, I'm glad we had that plan in place.
Heck yeah! Oh, it's like I cannot emphasize briefing enough. When you get on scene, like, what is your emergency out? Like, what are you doing in case? And
yep.
Yeah. Yes, and yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Freaking 12,800.
One of our pilots, I like the way he puts it, but he's like, a pre-brief allows your brain to get there before the butt in the seat gets there.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That way you can think about the options and think about the scenarios, like when you're in the hangar versus what's when it actually goes bad,
Absolutely. I'm going to throw my buddy Pat Estrada, PE, a fellow rescue swimmer buddy of mine, and every time him and I would get to work, I would watch him coming in day one on duty, and he would sit in the seat that he's going to sit in. He would close the cabin door, put his seatbelt on, shut his eyes, and go through his emergency escape routes. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. And I stole it from him, so I was doing it after that. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Like normally when I'm in the aircraft, this is me personally, like I look for my exits every time I get in the aircraft. And then when we get on scene, I'm constantly looking like, where is the aircraft going to go if this happens or that happens? And trying to set myself up on the ground or as a hoist operator, like, okay, this is what I need to do if. So, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thinking is critical to a good operation. So.
Looks like you got a good operation, Luke. Well done. Nice job, Chief Pilot, huh?
Well, I meant the act like one op, like the hoist.
Yeah.
I didn't mean the whole thing in general, but
oh man, I'm just kidding. It's good. Right on. we're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
all right, well, let me bring you to the next first, okay? This one was the first one in the Narrows. Now, the Narrows are a location that you guys have in Utah, which, if I remember correctly, is a very popular area for a lot of people to go hiking and whatever out there. But yeah, I mean, all of Utah, there's some beautiful hikes and camping.
Yeah.
Oh, the outdoors are amazing out there.
Absolutely. So down in southern Utah, you have Zion's National Park, one of the most popular ones in the country. It's just amazing, and it has some hikes in there, a little bit higher level, right? Like it, most people do it in a couple of days, and so you start up at the top and you go through this huge canyon, and it's again hard to explain how vast it is, but most of the time from where you're hiking, you're looking 1,000 feet to the top of the cliff on each side.
Wow.
And so it's incredible. Most of the canyon is wide enough that a helicopter can fly through it. But you don't really have places that you could go land. And then as you get closer down to the bottom, it just gets more and more narrow. And then where you're actually hiking is pretty narrow at spots. And so we get this call to go in there, and there's a place called the Confluence. And it's a pretty popular overnight place and a place, to kind of regroup. And so we've done quite a few rescues since out of there. But the first one we did, I was the hoist operator on this one. And we come in and I talk it through with the pilot because, none of us have ever gone in there, and we're like, hey, there's places for us to fly away if we get down in there. And so we start working our way down in through the canyon and get to where we're about 150 feet above the victim. And he said, hey, we can hoist from this altitude, right? We're just 150 feet above him. And so we go around and we do our briefing, kind of come with our plan, and then we go in there, and then I just start running the rescue specialist as he's still, descending quite a bit into the canyon. And so that by the time he hopefully gets to a spot, like my rescuer is already closer to the ground. And we get down and we get it. And actually, like, once our rescue specialist got down there, he's like, man, this is big enough. Like, you guys have plenty of room, like we're up there thinking like, man, we're so tight in here. And he's like, you've got like 2 or 3 discs, everywhere around. You got plenty of room. And in fact, you guys could probably land down here if you want me to clear all these rocks and trees out of the way. I'm like, no, like, let's not push it and land all the way down. He just grabs it, and then the pilot starts climbing, just as much as he can as I'm bringing him up, and we worked our way out, and it actually, like, it sounds pretty hairy, but if you take everything out of it, like the surrounding, it's just a really cool place to be, but there's really not that much to it. Like, it's a pretty simple hoist, and in a not very technical terrain down on the ground. It's just, getting the helicopter 1,000 feet down into the canyon is pretty incredible.
Dude, that is awesome. Like, just thinking about that, dropping down into the canyon. Like, you see some of the tour flights that roll down into like the Grand Canyon and stuff, like areas like that. But you're talking like 2 rotor discs on either side. That's pretty tight. Like, when you really think about it, that is pretty tight. coming down in there. You're like, oh yeah, there's walls on both sides of us. Let's go.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing, right? It's just the walls on both sides.
Yeah.
Like I can't go to either side. Like I've gotta come straight down in on this.
We call that tunnel vision, literally.
Yeah.
All right, that was a stupid joke, but I enjoyed it. Okay, I'm leaving it right there too.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty
Oh,
good.
thanks, Luke. Oh man, that's good stuff, dude. Well, actually, if I remember correctly, you and I were talking earlier. That's now a spot that you guys go train quite a bit. So you go practice in there quite often.
Yeah. So luckily, we've developed a really good relationship with Zion's National Park and with the rangers down there, and so they'll allow us to come into Zion's and train sometimes. So recently we had a new pilot that was they got hired for our south base for St. George, which is close to Zion's, and they let us go in and take a few, like show him like, hey, this is how you're going to get into this spot, and allowed us to train in there. And then one year we did our week long ARS in Zion's National Park. So typically a no-fly zone, right? And we did a whole week of training inside the park so that we could practice this type of terrain. So it's been awesome to be able to work with those guys. They've been awesome to work with and have done so much to help us out. And obviously it's benefiting them in the long run, right? Because now we're comfortable with that area to go get the people that are hiking inside their park. But it's been a really good relationship.
Well, I think the other good thing about that is in the people in the parks, especially the work your park rangers, your park medics, any volunteers that you have in there, anybody that's worked with you guys has now been able to be exposed to that, to be able to see, all right, this is what they're going to do. So it's not the first time that they're coming in and seeing that, which is always, from what I've seen personally, like it turns into a bit of a cluster. Like I would rather come out of the helicopter, be hoisted in, okay, this is what's going to happen. And everybody's like, oh, wow, helicopter, this is amazing, And then right after that, you're like, okay, let's go. Now I need you to do this, this, and this. But if they've already seen it, then they're like, oh, yeah, I remember this from the training. I remember this from last time. And that makes things a little easier and smoother. So
and we do training specifically with the rangers and the volunteers for the year.
Nice.
They'll have summer volunteers and stuff. And so we get in there and we train them on landing zones and, communication and what the helicopter can do for them and how they work and how they operate on the helicopter. Teach them like, hey, don't just run up to the helicopter, like make eye contact with the pilot and then ask for to come in. And then you wait until the pilot marshals you in, before you walk in. And so we kind of go over all that stuff with them. And it's awesome because then the rescue specialist shows up and they're like, hey, help me put this person in the rescue bag and hook up all these things and, can kind of help alleviate that workload for the rescue specialist. So,
yeah. Which I appreciate when I go down to the ground and I'm trying to do something like that myself. It's nice to have an extra set of hands that are willing to help. So
yeah, willing and
stuff,
have
man.
seen, like you said, have seen it before. Isn't just they're in shock and awe that there's a helicopter. Like they're like, okay, let's get to work.
Yeah, perfect, dude. That's great, man. Buddy, we have hit a lot of like first and or highest and all these little in betweens, but it's like the extreme ones for you. And I appreciate hearing every single one of them because I know you have so many more that we did not even touch on. But I really appreciate you giving us a glimpse into your program. I've got just a couple more questions that I'd like to ask you. And one of them is, with everybody that you've seen out there, it's kind of a newer question that I'm asking, right? Is what advice would you like to hand out or tell people that go out and go hiking and people that you've rescued? Like, how can we help them?
So there's a couple of things on this, but some of the big ones are make sure that somebody knows where you're going. Like you have talked to somebody that's not involved in your actual hike and you have said, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we plan on doing. This is when we plan on coming back. And just someone knowing that plan can be the difference between life and death. Right. I can appreciate the solo hikers. Like, I like to do things by myself. I like to be up in the mountains, like, me and my dad, like go on a horse ride up in the mountains, or, I like the solitude, right? Of being up there by yourself. But if you're doing anything that could be extreme or considered extreme, you got to take people with you. Like, if you have a couple of people, 3 or 4 people, somebody that can help you if you get in trouble, right? It's not very often that all 4 people in the party will twist their ankle or break their ankle and not be able to get out, right? There's
Right.
always somebody that, like, hey, I can hike this mile and go get help, or I can do this. If you have more people, then the more likelihood, that you'll just self-rescue. Like, you don't even have to call us if you have somebody there that can help you. So those things are big. And then also know what you're getting yourself into and be prepared for that situation. Do your research. If it's a place that you've never been, like, make sure that you understand what it's going to be. So often people get in way above their heads as far as skill level and things like that, because they're like, oh, well, Instagram said these are the top 10 hikes I got to do in Utah, and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Right? And so make sure you do more research than just seeing a top 10 list on Instagram and then trying it out, and then being prepared for what you're getting yourself into. My dad always said, hey, if you're going for an hour, plan for the day. If you're going for the
That's
day,
good advice.
Plan for 2 or 3, right? Like, you have to be able to take care of the essentials. So obviously water, some kind of shelter, and then fire, a way to stay warm, something like that. And if you have those things, you can get yourself out of a lot of situations. Everybody's like, oh, well, I got to carry food, and they're taking a whole pack full of food. Like, food is like a day 4 or 5 thing to worry about, right? Like, you really need water and shelter, and then an ability to stay warm. So fire, space blanket, anything like that. You can actually be pretty prepared with a very light pack. You don't have to weigh yourself down a ton. Just make sure you have water, or an ability to get water. If you have some kind of filtration system or something like that, you can throw that in so that you don't have to carry as much water. But those simple things ahead of time, a little bit of preparation, could change the whole outcome of your situation.
Perfect, man. I agree with all that. And I'm a key component of that too. I actually have caught myself where I've been stuck on the mountain, not really stuck on the mountain, but like what should have been like a 2 or 3 hour hike turned into like an 8-hour hike or an 8-hour day. And I'm like, whoo, it's getting cold in here. Like, I need a little bit of blanket. I need a sweatshirt or something, and I don't have it. It's down in the truck. Damn it.
Yeah, well, lessons learned. Just the other day, we were out on a search. We found the guy, again, a body recovery. The crew puts me in as the rescue specialist, and it was getting a little bit dark out to the west. And so my pilot actually is like, hey, Luke, do you got a rain jacket or something just in case the storm comes in? I'm like, oh, yeah, great idea. So I throw my rain jacket on, and they put me in, and we're working on packaging up the body. And then I get a radio call from the pilots like, hey, that storm moved in a lot faster than we thought. Like, we're not going anywhere. And so they're down at the command post. I'm up on the mountain, and then all of a sudden the storm comes in and just dumped rain for an hour and a half. And so I'm just sitting there up on the mountain, and luckily on our hoist vest, we carry some of these things like, the emergency stuff. And so I have my rain jacket. I go over, I find some good pine trees that are blocking the rain. I find a little place to huddle down, and I just sit there for an hour and a half and wait for him to come back and get me. So you never know, that's not anything that I even thought about or expected to happen that day. Like, I'm like, oh, this is only 5 miles from the trailhead. This is going to be quick. Like, this isn't that bad of terrain. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. And so I went in not fully prepared, and the pilot's like, hey, it's getting a little dark out to the west. Maybe take a rain jacket. We'll see what happens. And so, it can catch you pretty
smart,
quick, man.
Yeah.
Especially here in Utah, like, weather changes so fast. Like, you have to be prepared, and for different types of environment. We get in the fall and the spring, we might be up in the Uintas at 10,000 feet in a couple of feet of snow. And then our next call is down in the desert and it's, it's hot and dry. And so you just have to, you really have to think through some of these things and play the what if game, like, okay, well, if this happens, what am I going to do? What if this happens? Then what am I going to do? So.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I always leave home with, no matter where I go. It's funny, even on an airplane, I don't care. I usually bring a bar, like some sort of snack bar. I have some way to hold water, like some sort of water bottle or something. Whether it's empty or full is a whole nother story, but I've got a way to contain water. And then a headlamp, a signal mirror, and a way to start a fire. I carry that everywhere. Now, on an airplane, I can't really carry my fire starter. They don't really let me. But I usually throw it in my check-in bag or if I have one. And I always have that stuff with me. It's kind of funny. My wife laughs at me all the time. She's like, really? You got to bring a headlamp? Yes, honey, I do.
You're like, I might need this.
you never know. It's just come on.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so now I'm going to ask one more piece of advice for everybody that's doing the job. What would you tell them?
So the biggest thing for me is training. Don't ever think that you've arrived at the pinnacle or the peak of your, capabilities and that you're good enough. That's kind of the everybody's nemesis is like, well, I'm good enough. Like I'm good at this. And it takes a lot of work to get to that spot. And then it seems like people start to relax once they're at that peak level. Well, I think if you don't continue to try to progress, try to become a little bit better, get a little bit higher, then you're going to start to regress. And so kind of the analogy I use with my team is like, let's say you're walking up an escalator that's coming down. And as soon as you get to the top step, you're like, yes, I made it. And then you just stop and then the escalator just keeps going backwards. And now all of a sudden you're three steps from the bottom and asked to do something, an intense technical rescue that now you're not prepared for because you didn't continually train. And so luckily our department has bought off on training. We do 1 day of hoist training every month. And then, we train every other Thursday. So twice a month. One of those is ground skills, either aircraft, rescue gear, go through our equipment, make sure that we have everything we need. And then the other one is actual hoist reps and iterations. And it's not just go out and get 3 reps in and call that good. It's like, no, we put a trainer right there next to the hoist operator that is going to hold you accountable to be perfect. And we say, hey, today we're going to pass off this skill and you're going to do this. And if it's not perfect, we're going to practice a couple of times and you're going to have to show us again that it's perfect.
Awesome.
You just always hold each other accountable, hold your team accountable. Don't let stuff slide. Like if you see someone that's sliding on their skills or not doing everything that they can to be the best, then you got to address that and have that relationship that you can reach out and be like, listen, bro, you gotta do this or you gotta work on this. Let's do some practice, and just continually try to be better. You've never arrived. You've never become the best ever. You gotta keep practicing.
Yeah. I will throw myself right under the bus with this one, right in the blades. Is it I have been that person where I think, I don't want to say I think I'm the best. I've never thought that, but where I got to the point where yep, okay, I've seen this. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not going to learn here. And then somebody tells me something new and I'm like, I eat my words. So right. I will take that advice. Okay. If anybody's going to take it, I'm going to take it. And at this point right now, I love the escalator analogy. Just because you got to keep stepping forward. You got to keep stepping up. Always move forward. So, buddy, I thank you for that, Luke. I'm taking it personally. Okay.
Well, it wasn't a personal attack, but
I know. That's why I'm taking it. Luke, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, conveniently enough, we do actually have one more story that we're going to talk about. You're going to give us a little teaser right now, and then we're going to talk to the whole crew because the video of this rescue is insane. What do we have to look forward to?
Well, so this rescue was a guy stuck on a cliff, 1,000 feet up and 500 feet down or so, and we couldn't get the helicopter close enough to the cliff to actually perform the rescue, and so we had to again rely on our training and come up with an unorthodox way of getting him off the cliff, I guess. So that'll be the teaser.
I am so excited. It's going to be awesome. Luke, thank you again for sharing all these stories with us. I can't thank you enough. I'm glad this finally worked out. I cannot wait to hear this story with you and your crew.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. Look forward to it.
Definitely. And at one point or another, I promise you, I'm coming out. We're going to hang out. And if you're saying I can be a victim on the hook, I'm coming to play victim. And then you got to teach me something.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks, brother. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft as a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station. The PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Go.
is there a funny moment that stands out to you with one of your training evolutions or training events?
Yeah, so the one that sticks out the most, we were doing ARS down by Moab, again, kind of in the Red Rocks and the Cliffs, sandstone area, kind of working on some of that. And a lot of times with ARS, like we'll be working on different reps, and we have 6 or 7 rescue specialists, and all the hoist operators got to get through those reps. And so we'll pick them up from one place, put them to another, and things like that. And we tell the rescue specialists, like, hey, be prepared because you might be out in a location for 2 or 3 hours, before we make it back to pick you up. And Bob with ARS was down and training, and some of their guys on the ground. And one of our rescue specialists, he mentions to one of the ARS guys, like, man, I'm getting pretty hungry sitting up here. Like, I hope they come and get us pretty soon. And so he kind of thought that was all, and they get talking about it. And then that guy gets out his little glucometer or whatever the diabetes thing is, and checks his sugar because he's diabetic. And so this guy, the ground guy, Ron with ARS, was like, full stop, everybody, we're going, we're shutting down training. So he calls a full stop. And like we pull everybody off the training back to the trucks, and we're like debriefing and like making sure everybody gets their lunch. And he's like, dude, I just said I was hungry. Like, I'm fine. But he like pulled a full halt to training. Like, probably cost us like 3 hours worth of training because it's like everybody to the trucks and timeout.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was good. Something that we obviously still love to tease that TFO about, you know, like anytime we're like if he says we're hungry, we're like, everybody, we got to go to lunch right now. You know,
that's
like,
hilarious.
yeah.
Dude, I wonder what his blood sugar was at. It's probably like normal. It's like, oh, I'm still good for another couple hours.
He checked in. He's like, it was perfectly normal. All I did was say I was hungry. Like,
oh, that's funny. Dude, I appreciate you sharing that one. That's
we all thought it was a medical emergency, you know, like as we're like hearing Ron talk on the radio, like we all thought like he had gone into a diabetic coma or something. Like we didn't know what was going on. So we're all just hustling back to the vehicles and like, and he's just classic. Like, comes off the mountain. He's like, dude, I'm fine.
Oh, it's awesome. Thanks for sharing that one, man. That's great.
Yeah.